Thank you for calling Call-In Studios host and enter your 6-digit PIN number. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-In Studio web interface.
Good morning.
There's a delay.
Rookie.
There's a delay on your phone. I'm so distracted.
All right. Youngstown Studio, we've got we got a lot of talk radio ability here in this room today. We've got Kellen.
Oh.
We got Denny Malloy. It's going to be a good show here. I'm way more annoying on repeat.
There you go.
All right. So welcome, Denny.
Good to see you, Joe. Kellen, nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
It's been a long time. We
yeah.
used to sit in this seat. Oh boy, it's been going back over 3 years now.
Yeah, with Regina.
Turning Red show. Yeah,
Yeah.
with Regina McManus.
Yeah. All right, Kellen, normal show. You get first crack at this. So anything that's on your grill that you'd like
Here's
to bring
what's
up
on my
today.
grill. I didn't know we had another person here today until just now. So
Well,
I don't know if there's something like you guys want to talk about because I don't have anything important.
Oh, he's
No.
just joining us. He's absolutely just
That's
joining
it.
us.
And I have a long history of radio in Mahoning Valley. We did 13 years on WKBN.
Have you met Denny before?
No.
We just met.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm meeting him now for the first time.
We did an outdoor show on WKBN on Saturday mornings for 9 years. And then we did a oil and gas show on Wednesday nights for about 4 years. And that was with my old partner, Rob Palowitz and Paul Lydon back in the day. And
Paul's a good dude.
Yeah, Paul's a really good dude. He's a pillar of the community. The Lydon family is are pillars of the community. And we and then I went on from that to become county commissioner in Trumbull County. And that kind of led me, I guess, my experience with the Valley, my experience being in people's homes every Saturday and being in the back 40 when I was a game warden and working in my other capacity and fundraising for wildlife conservation. I was just kind of a community activist a little bit in many areas and led me to a career in politics in Trumbull County. And we dabbled in this thing for a little bit too back in
yeah, he and I did a lot of talk radio on Saturday mornings. Like he was, you know, I love fishing. I love hunting, big conservationist, big wildlife person. And so he and I align on 92% of everything.
About that.
Very.
And that was back when radio ruled the Valley.
Yeah.
Now podcasts rule the Valley.
Right.
So you made that transition over for a lot of the listeners too, you know, that don't have the Dan Rivers anymore, that don't have an area, a way to get caught up on what's going on in the Valley. Youngstown Studios and your shows have kind of filled that void out there, and people appreciate it.
Was that Clear Channel when you were there?
Yes. It was Clear Channel. It was iHeart. It was
ton of different
before
companies.
that. It was all the way back to the
original
I
family.
used to work for Cumulus before I moved down south, and radio's just kind of a little different now than it used to be.
It's totally different now. This is the way to go. And Joe was doing this when 3 or 4 people even knew what the hell he was doing.
Exactly.
You know,
Joe's like, back in my day.
He was way ahead of the curve.
Are you just making me a boomer? Thanks,
We're actually not even that far off in
you're an
age.
OG.
Yeah.
You're the OG of podcasts.
OG of podcasts.
You're like, I did podcasts before podcast was a thing.
So one of the, most of us on Saturday, we always shied away from politics because our listenership was both Democrats and Republicans.
Sure.
We knew our audience was not captured by politics. It's a different game now.
Totally.
Now, do you think you've paid any consequences for being a conservative in front of a primary Democrat area, or do you think? Go ahead.
I guess, Joe, that's a neat question. The constituents are the constituents, regardless of whether they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, whether they're far MAGA or whether they're solid blue, Pelosi blue. They're still constituents, and we still have the same basic needs that we want here in the Valley. When it comes to local politics, all politics are local. When it comes with this, you got to play the game politically, Republican, Democrat, to get you to punch your ticket to get in. And you have those bases behind you. Now, of course, we've made a major flip in the Valley from blue to red.
Yeah.
But when you look at it now, the people that have flipped, what's flipped this Valley are blue people that were disenfranchised because the party left them.
Yes.
And
sure.
Today, if you look at it today, a lot of people say JFK would have been a Republican had he been alive today. Jim Trafficant, 100% was a Republican in sheep's clothing. If you look at him today, Donald Trump, he's no different than Trafficant back in the day. I think he learned a lot from Jim Trafficant, whether directly or indirectly. So a lot of the union guys, a lot of the guys, the hardworking labor guys that crossed over for Trump, they stayed. Now they call themselves Republican. And that's why in the Valley, we see that almost every seat, at least in Trumbull County, we flipped every seat except for prosecutor because we didn't run anyone Republican for prosecutor. Now we've got judges and everyone else leaving the party and running just flat out. They're not even hiding it anymore. I'm running as a Republican now. Longtime Democrat roots all the way back. When I flipped over, it was in Trump era, 96. I'm sorry, 2016. I'm sorry. And I'd always voted on national issues Republican. I was a George Bush fan. I wasn't a Clinton fan at all. I was a Rob Portman, George Voinovich fan. But I was a Ted Strickland fan also. And Ted is another one that's kind of a conservative Democrat that kind of moved to the middle. He appealed to a lot of the hardworking guys. They crossed over and voted Democrat for him in the governor race. Then they went back to Kasich when he ran against Ted, and they bounced back and forth. Well, now I think the guys have crossed, and they're like, hey, we kind of like it here. We got jobs. We got money. We're doing good with our families. We don't need to go back to the other side of the road. And that's okay. It doesn't matter if they're Democrat, Republican, what they declare themselves, as long as they have a job to provide for their family and they have a way of life that they live, that they want to live. And I think that's where we stand.
Most surprising was like when the Auto Workers Union came in support of Trump. Like, it makes total sense because if you have a president that is, using tariffs, using a little protectionism to be able to insulate the international market from your job, which is to build cars here in the United States, like, why would you vote against your interest when the other side is trying to outsource everything that you do?
Right. And I think one thing that I learned in my 3 years, I ran as an independent first. I ran as an independent in 2020 and lost by a very slim margin to a guy I ended up sitting next to, Mauro Canela Mesa. I ended up sitting next to him when I ran again in 22 and won as a Republican. And I think I did it the right way. I crossed to the middle. I slowly made the transition and understood the party before I crossed all the way. I just didn't one day wake up and say, I'm going to do this strategy and run as a Republican, and people were going to not see through it. But when I looked at it, a lot of people said, oh, he's a rhino. He's a rhino. He wasn't a diehard. He wasn't hardcore Republican. When I look in the mirror and I look back at my life, I was a dino my whole life. I was a dino because that's what you did so you can vote. You pull a Republican ballot, you had nobody to vote for.
Right.
Nobody. Why even go vote in the spring when there was no contested primaries? As I got older, as I got into business, as I started understanding the world a little bit more, and I kind of identified maybe a late bloomer of who I was and what my positions were, I realized, I'm Catholic, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-gun, probably the most pro-gun we got in the Valley. I deal with guns for a living. That's what I do. And I said, why the heck have I been voting Democrat my whole life? I'm not a Democrat. I've been fooling myself and fooling everybody else. But when I'm in as county commissioner, the one thing I can tell you, I look at the sheriff, I look at the clerk of courts, I look at the recorder, I look at commissioners. There isn't one thing I've done in 3 years that's either Democrat or Republican issue. Not one. You can remove that blanket of branding on top of you once you're in there.
No partisanship.
There needs to be no partisanship. I work very well with the Democrats we have in the Valley that are in office.
Or the freaking county.
The mayors. Yeah, most of the mayors still in the Valley. Those are the stronghold. The mayors and the councils of cities are still blue. And that's okay. We flipped every county seat. I think the Democratic Party in Trumbull County was like 0-20 in the last election, or last 2 elections with county seats. But they still have the city, and that's okay. I work very well with anyone of any party, and I think we all have that philosophy. We're not up there deciding the major big issues. We're not the Supreme Court. We're not testing everything there and deciding whether it should be this conservative or that liberal or whatever the case is. We're out there building roads, providing jobs, providing services, making sure that people can get the best utility rates. We're just serving the public. And I hate the politics label when you get in there and people think all of a sudden, I'm not going to get along with you because you're a Republican now. That's
what you mentioned yesterday, the tribalism, where people depending on your stripes, how you won't work with them because of their label. Well, this sounds a whole lot like Denny's able to cross that aisle and work with mayors and other councils.
And it is so interesting to see. You've got almost sort of the people that will automatically label you a certain way based on the title Republican or Democrat. I've even seen people that will label you a certain way if you claim to be middle ground. Like, you've got to pick a side. And it's interesting what you said earlier about, back in the day, I feel like there's a big sort of group or demographic now that almost identify as that like 90s Democrat. Like, I didn't change, the party changed, the views changed, the extremism kicked in. And so, it's almost like you talk about flipping, or, well, I became a Republican, and maybe in some senses, yes. But do you think it's more so, rather than anybody changing their values or ideas, it's just the environment that is the political sides shifted?
It has. And I think a lot of it is because of the leadership too. When you see how far left some of the people on TV go, and I think now people are deciding, they're looking at Minnesota, for example, and they're looking at what's going on with fraud, and they're looking at the ICE issues. And some people are starting to identify, it just comes out of you, and you feel one way or another toward these issues, and you either feel more conservative or you feel more liberal with these issues. And we've got them on both sides. We got total wackos on the Democratic side and the far left, and we know who they are in Congress. We got total wackos on the right side. Mm-hmm. We got people that cannot stand our president, including people in my family. I can't go to deer camp with my dad and bring up one political thing, or we are in separate sides of the cabin and not talking all weekend because his views are different than mine. His life was different than mine. The way he was raised, the environment he was raised in, he was raised in a time and era, a union guy his whole life growing up, a hardworking guy, worked at the Vindicator, worked as a mailman, grew up in not in the most wealthy of conditions. He had some way of what he views politics as, and it's different than the way that I view politics now. And I think that's just a generational thing. But when you look at it and you really cut it down, if we all had when you go to vote, people should have a checklist. They should give you a test first and say, what do you think of this? 100%. What do you think of this? Here's what you are. Because you don't know what you are.
There are websites that do that. I do that every year. Anytime we get a new batch of candidates.
Where are you on the spectrum? Where would you say that those tests would plot you?
I almost always get in the middle.
Middle?
Yeah.
What about you?
Middle ground.
I'm more toward the middle.
Slightly right.
More right than middle.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of Democrats too that are right on that. I don't think there's too many people in my world, in my circle, people that I deal with on a daily basis, that are very, very far to the left. Now, there are people in my life that are very, very far to the right that have Donald Trump underwear. They wear the flag up and down, and that's great if that's a philosophy that gets them involved. But when it comes to actually making the decisions, you can't have that partisan bend to you. You can't have bias, and you can't have prejudice towards one side or the other. And the thing I think we're learning from a little bit, we look at our state reps right now, and there's a million different issues between county government, state government, federal government. There's a million different things, but we've got a coalition now, and it's called Lake to River Coalition. And it's made up of state reps and senators from Ashtabula to Columbiana, and they work together. They pledge to support each other's bills, and there's a Democrat in a bunch. And the Republicans are supporting what she does when it comes to legislation, she's supporting what they do if it's best for the valley. If it's an issue or an initiative
on the
that's
federal
gonna help
level,
their citizens, they work together.
On the federal level, you have like the Rand Pauls and the John Fettermans and the Tom Masseys who push against the status quo. They're not in the tribe. They'll push whatever their principles are, is how they feel and how they present themselves. It feels like they get more pushback than something on the state or the local level. Where
Just
you
gonna
can
ask that.
Yeah, you can push back a little bit more on the local side and get people to work with you. Where on the federal level, you get sent off to an island on your own when you start pushing against your team.
We got Dave Joyce, our congressman in Trumbull County, now in the parts of Mahoney County with redistricting. He went against the president like on 6 votes where he voted with the Democrats. And he is on the outs of the party. He's not Donald Trump's favorite person, but he's a great congressman. And he cares about the issues. He's got his viewpoint from his way of life. He comes from a prosecutor background. He's not the crazy MAGA red, but nobody would mistake him for not being a Republican or not being conservative, because he is. He's just not where in the label where people want him to be. And that's okay. You can have different degrees within the same party. We have it too. There's people in my party that I don't get along with, but we still share common views, common beliefs, and we're still both on the right side. I wouldn't say that they're on the left or we still try to move forward in the best way that we can. But there is a difference though. Democrats stick together like glue. Republicans eat their own right now. And part of that is we haven't had the power long enough to understand how to use it. It's like we woke up.
But I think that's healthier. I honestly think disagreement, you might look at it as chaos and, not being able to agree on things. But I think disagreement and those conversations are had behind the scenes where people are hashing it out. Like you two are probably the most reasonable disagreements that I have in my world, right? We can totally say that I disagree with you. And I know that you're not going to go to bitter hatred and you're not going to go to nuclear options on me. We can talk about it and come to some kind of agree to disagree or some kind of consensus, but that doesn't happen on the gravities of the federal level at all.
No, and on local level, it doesn't happen sometimes too. Like you said, we're like we woke up and we got these superpowers, and we don't know how to use them. We don't know to spin it, throw that web out there like Spider-Man. We don't know how to fly yet like Superman, but we got the powers, and it's because we got the power of the people. We got the power of the vote that have flipped the area red. And instead of utilizing that, working together and moving forward together, we try to chop each other down to the knees. And all that does is spread power back to people that maybe shouldn't have power. Maybe the ones that weren't the majority, because we're in such a cluster with that. Fortunately, the other side's the same way. Their times are changing for them too. They're in a transition period where they're losing some of their best people, and they're finding it hard to put candidates up that are going to be able to just get elected like they've done for so many years. So it is something that probably shifts back and forth with the pendulum. But I think right now, if anything, I think the Valley's come more to the middle as a community than ever before. You don't have one group with all the power that is just steamrolling the other side. We're all kind of gravitated toward the middle, and there is very little that separates us. I got a lot of friends that I don't even know what they are. And then I go to, I'm up on the ballot again this year, so I got to get signatures signed for petitions. And there's people that I go to, I have to get only Republican signatures of voters in Trumbull County. And I ask them, hey, will you sign my petition to get reelected? And I find out they're a Democrat. And I thought, you're a Democrat? You can't sign my petition? We look them up to make sure it's legal. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. And they might be a Democrat by circumstance, or they just don't care. The 80% of the people in the middle are nothings. They don't follow Fox News. They don't follow, they're just citizens, and they vote one way or another. When they vote with their conscience. They vote with their gut. They vote with popularity of a name,
and they're
but they're not engaged. They're way the majority.
They make it feel like the majority is in the minority, and that the fringe people have all the power, and it's just not the case.
Well, do you think there's a mindset though of more so at the federal level than the local level, the idea of I need to use the people as my pawns?
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely.
Then locally, they don't really need to do that. You
Right.
can get along, you can work together. You don't need to know if you're Republican or Democrat. Higher up you go, you're like, nah, listen, I'm going to need to pit you guys
But then again,
together.
if you look at the federal level and you look at the tens of millions of dollars spent in every election, Sherrod Brown's going to spend $80 million trying to beat John Houston. John Hughes is going to spend $100 million to protect his seat. When you go to the parties or you go to the events or the fundraisers they're going to have for each other, the room's full of the same people. There's people like the Cafaros. They're going to donate both ways. The Zoltans, they're going to donate money both ways.
They know the game.
They all think
Absolutely.
that, he's on my side. He's on my side. And it's a big war of the things. The people in the middle are in the middle, and that's where they like to be. And in our valley, more and more we find that I'm tainted because I hang around mostly Republicans at social events, functions, fundraisers, things like that. So you think, oh, we got to do this and we're going to do this. There's a core of about 30 people that are kind of like the movers and shakers of the party. There's a core of same thing on the Democrat side, movers and shakers, and they think they have it. When you ask the average Joe out there, and I had a wise guy tell me once, Dominic Marquez, he's a trustee in Johnson Township, one of my political mentors. He said, you think you know what's going on. You think the people know you. You're on the radio. You're running for this. You think, oh, people know me. I'm Denny Malloy, the Republican commissioner. He said, go sit in front of Walmart on a Friday night and watch the front door for an hour. You don't know shit. You don't know anybody. There's 80% that's the average Joe that's going to vote in the next election. They never heard of you. They don't care who you are. They don't know who the sheriff is. They don't care who the sheriff is. They're just citizens that want to just take care of the families, go to work, get a paycheck, and they don't want any part of politics at all. They may lean one way or another. They may be influenced by social media somewhat a little bit, and the social media thing too. We get caught up in that. Oh my God, I got to check and see who said this about me today. Who did that?
Don't do it.
There's people out there.
Bad.
The majority don't care. And the majority is going to come out and they're going to vote on election day and they're going to vote for whatever the wind tells them that day. And maybe it is a popularity thing. Maybe it is if they heard the name or didn't hear the name. Maybe someone did meet him. Will remember, oh, I met him. I heard his speech. He was good for the most part. And I liken this to whenever you voted, Joe and Kellen, when you go in and you vote, and then they got like the people running for State Board of Education or they're running for State Supreme Court. You never heard of any of those names. You just pick one and you're like, I'm going to pick that one. That's what voters do for the most part. So it's just a weird game to get into it. But once you're in there, hopefully people see the good that you do. Hopefully they take note of that. And hopefully they vote with their wallet and they vote smartly.
With their conscience.
But fortunately, smart, educated, and voters doesn't always go together in the same
do you feel
thing.
I've always wondered too, I don't know about the past, but I think in our current political climate, to the Democrats' credit, they use that. They use an emotional appeal, I think, because they know who's actually looking into this, who's actually reading up on this, who actually cares to do a deep dive. But I bet you their social media and the news outlets and their friends are all going to be talking about the high emotional instances. And so they're going to paint good guy, bad guy, right and wrong. And then that will stick with them. And I think that's something that is sort of their biggest arsenal. Their biggest weapon is, can we emotionalize everything and just push a narrative? And that's how we're going to win over anybody that's like,
I think that's a mistake that they made because they got so used to being put a D at the end of their name. And they just had people who didn't vote D no matter what.
Yeah.
And they didn't try hard to be able to win people over with thought and wisdom and all of that.
Yeah.
And they got really apathetic that way.
Or if you go too far, it becomes the boy who cried wolf all the time. Like, how many times do you have to hear someone get called a racist or a Nazi or a narcissist or a bigot or a fascist? And you're like, wait a minute, but I have been watching that person. I've not seen any of those things. So does that mean
one thing, the reason I appreciate you guys so much too, you can't trust the media. I've been around the media a lot the last 3 years. And I can tell you, I can count on one hand how many times they actually got the story right without a bend, without a taint, without a mixing up something wrong, whether it be my age, where I live, a stance, a quote that I made that was misquoted. The media is not out there to print the facts anymore. The media is out there to get the hits, to get the likes. There's one station in town that has more of a bend than the others that they look for the negative first. You could say 30 positive things. And if you make one comment that sounds negative,
sells. That's
what's going to lead on the news. And it's been that way with the newspapers too. There's a reason newspapers are going under. And a lot of it is a lot of them became shock and awe news. Certain things led on the front page. Certain people, if they made a comment, no matter how dumb it was, they're on the front page because that's what sells papers. It's not the good stuff. It's not the how many jobs did were created today? What new businesses are coming to the Valley? What decisions do you make today that are going to strengthen our financial stability of the county and balance our budget? That stuff doesn't hit the news. That doesn't make it. And if it does, it's boring. Nobody reads it, and it's just not covered. So people get their news today. A lot of them, it's weird on where do they get it? Now you don't have a Dan Rivers to get it from. People, you got that for how many years did people in the Mahoning Valley listen to Dan Ryan or Dan Rivers? And that's where they got their news. Some, Ron Verb, he's still there in the afternoon. The newspapers, what happened to our local writers?
Outsourced to California. It's
outsourced, and they get news from Cleveland or whatever is fed to them. And I saw the writing on the wall back in the day when I was over at Clear Channel, iHeart, and they started getting rid of all their local newscasters. 3 or 4 of them that were there for years and years, 20, 30 years, coming in on Saturday morning or whatever, giving you the news of the Valley. We started getting a feed from Cleveland of canned whatever that sounded good.
Whoever AP put together.
And now we do still have some people, they only watch Newsmax. They only watch Fox News. They only get their news from CNN. So you could just see how tainted things are with different views. And that's what's being fed into people. Very few people, I think, watch both to try to get the story, read deeper into the newspaper. I mean, there's some people read the Business Journal, read things like that, and depending on what world you're in and like how deep you need to be involved in economics or whatever, or economic development. But for the most part, there is no news that you can read and decipher for yourself what you believe in and what you don't believe in. There's going to be a bend to it, no matter what you get.
You said that people need to even read deeper. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen an article that said something may happen. This could potentially occur. And it's shared all over social media, like, look what they're doing. This is happening. I can't believe it. And I was like, you don't see words like may, could, potentially, possible.
And it starts with our president. Watch the presidential press conferences. That poor girl that has to represent the president, she's not going to get a question that thanking the president for what a great job he did today.
No, she will from Fox News.
But she'll get 30 questions of an angle where they're trying to get a gotcha. They're trying to come in and these people do a wonderful job. I get a lot of respect for the people that have to do that on no matter what president they're defending. That they can do it with a straight face sometimes amazes me, but at the same time, these questions are pointed. These questions are wrong. They're loaded from the beginning to make someone look bad. They're not out there to find out the real facts of the news, and nobody's dealt with that like Donald Trump. And I mean, that's a fact. I don't think any president in history has been under as much scrutiny and negativity as he has, and he's weathered it like a champ. I am a Trump fan. Do I drink the Kool-Aid? No. I still look at both sides of things.
Objectively critical.
I could be objectively critical on some of the stuff he does, but at the same time, look what the guy's been through for years and years and years. I mean, he's even been shot at. I mean, I couldn't even imagine that. That shows the extreme of how bad media can be and how powerful media can be.
All right, let's change gears a little bit. I want to talk data centers and how communities, counties are handling whether or not they're open to data centers. It's going to be the next big industry. It is going to be the defining industry that fuels all of the technological advances with AI. How's Trumbull County? Are they being courted by big operations? Are they open to it? Like, what kind of pushback are you getting?
We are. And it all starts with Foxconn. It all starts with the old General Motors plant. There's a consortium of people. SoftBank is a parent company that bought the factory out there, and they're going to make AI data centers. They're going to make the components for AI, and they're going to make portable AI data centers that can be mobile, that are in like a trailer, like a semi-trailer type of a thing. With that, AI is so big. It's part of the Stargate project that the president launched on the day he was inaugurated this time. And there's going to be billions and hundreds of billions of dollars invested in this in the future. You can't stop AI. Anytime you Google, anytime we do anything, that's AI. When you ask what the weather's going to be today, someone's going to pull out an AI and give you your answer. Siri is going to give you an AI answer. And the Amazon girl, whatever you say when you need Amazon, or what, Alexa. She's AI.
Yep.
People like that. They don't want the data center in their backyard, but they want the data. The thing that I think we're seeing, and we saw it in Lordstown, the people there said, hey, we don't want data centers. They're okay with what's going on at Foxconn. And like I said, that's so big, they're adding 2 million square feet to the General Motors plant. When you got a plant that big and you need 2 million more square feet for what you're going to do, that's going to revolutionize our valley. But that's another topic. When it comes to data centers themselves, people are afraid of the electricity grid, and they're afraid of water resources to cool them and what's going to happen with that type of stuff. There's technology now, and we just had a company go to Barberton and Norton, and they shot them down. But this was a company who wanted to put up a data center, self-contained. They were going to use natural gas on the property to create their energy. They weren't going to tap into the grid. They were going to be self-sufficient with their water purification system, and basically all-in-one type of thing. We're not going to disturb anything. Just give us the go-ahead. We're going to put this thing here, and we're going to be self-contained. We're not going to ask you for any infrastructure or anything else. I think communities are going to push more towards that, more toward that technology than what scares them, than what they're resisting, and what they're putting away.
A hum or incessant noise, or
the hum, the
like
incessant
that.
Noise. They're afraid that they're going to tap in the grid. It's going to raise everybody's bills for whatever reason. Electricity bills. That's something that needs to be tackled on the federal level. Everyone's electric went up, but that's because of storage and transmission of the electricity, and that's a whole animal in itself. But far as
what about these moratoriums? Like, some of these councils are saying, I don't want to deal with it, and we're going to use a function of our council to just delay it. And all that happens is these people relocate to other industrial areas,
and I'm okay with that.
Lose it.
And I'm okay with that, as long as they relocate within our county borders. If Lordstown doesn't want it, there's a place in Warren Township that's going to roll out the red carpet. If that doesn't work, maybe in McDonald, somewhere near the old steel mills, or maybe
Hubbard,
Warren, there's going to be a place for it somewhere. This is something that there's enough of a need. And if a community doesn't want it, we're going to back them up. We're not going to force any development down your throats. People, we're based on communities. This valley was built around churches. It was built around the jobs. It was built around ethnicity of who settled where when they came here. And those communities, that's what makes us special. That's what makes Girard unique. There's part that Niles is unique with the base that they have there. We've got so many different microcosms in our county. We don't want to mess that up. That's what makes Mahoning Valley, makes Trumbull County absolutely special.
In the 1900s, when you had the Industrial Revolution and you had all of our mills, like, the public tolerated a whole lot of what the mills did. Did the mills make noise? Did the mills put taxes on utilities and resources and infrastructure?
Pollution?
Yeah. And it built this freaking area. Why are we so sensitive now that a hum or an extra use of water or an extra use of electricity is a deal breaker?
Well, that's why I guess in a sense, I am very proud of our community. We've got the Kimberly-Clark project coming. And that involved 4 different communities having to come together, basically work with the citizens around there, and they had to resist. Paper mills stink, and there's going to be traffic. There's 300 trucks a day going to tear our roads up. And because of the leadership of the economic leaders we have, and because of the partnership we have, everybody worked it out. They created a JED. They're building a new roadway. They're shutting down a road where it would be obstructive to the public that lives around there. They're going to be a good neighbor. And the technology they have today, it's not going to stink like a paper mill. The pulp's already going to come in, already made when it comes in that factory. But the bottom line is they're going to invest $2 billion in our community. They're going to create jobs paying $32 an hour to start on the average. And they're going to employ on the upwards between 2,000 and 3,000 people at full production. And it's going to be the next General Motors for us, as far as our kids being able to get a job, stay here, raise a family, get their pension, and retire on the backs of a Fortune 200 company that wants to be here in the Mahoning Valley. We got naysayers. Don't get me wrong. We got people that come to hearings and they don't want to see a truck drive down this road. They don't want a new road being built to Lordstown. You need to have progress. If you want to have the fruits of the labor, high tides raise all ships. And this is one of the things where, Lordstown right now, Lordstown's a little bit different than the rest of the county, but Lordstown is the gatekeeper of Trumbull County right now. They're the Walmart greeter at the front door of our county. Everything that happens in this county in one way, shape, or another is going to go through Lordstown. And there's a lot of power on their council members and their mayor to understand that power, to be able to work with their citizens to understand, we don't want to come in and rape your resources you have there and take all your farmland and destroy it. But we want to assist you and make it being the best community you can be, because the rest of the vibrancy and the rest of the economic wealth of Trumbull County depends on you. It depends on you extending that hand out to whatever business comes here. And if it doesn't work for you, pass it on to Warren Township or pass it on to somebody else. But that's the unique thing we have to deal with Lordstown right now. And we're making strides of bringing them into the county fold of things and giving them the respect they deserve. And I think for years and years, they haven't had the respect from county government.
I was going to say, I will say as sort of a devil's advocate, when I was living down south, luckily I didn't live close by, but close enough that on occasion I went by a paper mill, and that stink is real. Like, right. If that stink was a real concern, I wouldn't live next to it. If there was an incessant hum, I wouldn't want it. If I'm a girl, if my shower water pressure lowered, I'm not having it, and I don't care what the upside is. But like you said, if someone could say, check, not a problem, not a problem, not a problem.
Well, and the one thing about this valley that is so great is we're based on tradition in this valley. But the one thing about this valley that sucks is we're based on tradition in this valley. Try to run. Everyone wants a shower with good pressure. Yeah. And they don't want orange tubs.
Yeah.
And they want progress.
I don't want well
and
water.
And you run a water line and you got to raise the water bill $10 a month for them, and they're screaming. It's like, do you want it or do you not want it? Infrastructure costs money. If you want natural gas coming to your house, if you want water, if you want a toilet where you flush the toilet and it goes into a sewer and not into a septic system in your yard, there's good, there's bad, they got to go with the good. Yeah. And for the greater good, we got to think about the whole future of the community. And the naysayers speak the loudest. And there are some people, they don't want it. They want to fight. They want to resist progress, but then they want to sit behind their computer screen and bitch about no progress.
Why no jobs coming here? Why? Because you chase them away as soon as they show interest.
Well, and that's our biggest thing. If we really want to dig deep into the show here today, is we really got to pull the blinds up and look and say, do we have a workforce that's ready for what's coming here right now? Because this all boils around that. Once these people start hiring, Amazon's hiring people in Bezetta Township. Kimberly Clark is going to hire 600 or 700 people right out of the gate. Foxconn says they got to add another 1,200 people. Where are they going to get these people? Do we have a workforce sitting on grandma's couch?
Well, all they got to do is
that has work boots ready to go.
If you open applications and you get 1,000 people that show up for jobs of 500, when you know you hit on something, because there's a labor force out there that is waiting for something.
Well, we had Valeric Steel. They've had 100 jobs posted since they opened that they've never been at full capacity. They've never hit their numbers, and they're hiring 24/7. Our 911 center in Trumbull County, we're supposed to have 40 dispatchers. We got 16. I was there last night into the wee hours of the night. We got 16, and we can't get over the threshold because people come in, especially this younger generation now, and they're like, what? I got to work all day long, and I can't have this day off. I need a break. I need a rest day.
Balance.
Right.
That a lot.
It hurts my soul.
And that
ethic, hurts me.
That work ethic, I don't know how we're going to change that, but we're going to have to because it's coming. Well, and these people got to be prepared.
One really interesting thing I saw also when I was down south is the town I was working in, their economic development department worked directly with the schools. And what they would do is see big business that was potentially coming to their area. And they would say, we don't have the workforce for this. We don't have the skill set for this. And so what they did is, let's start a program in the schools. Let's make welders. Let's make craftsmen. Let's make whatever, so that we make our workforce. Do we have anything like that in this area, or is that maybe
we do? Some of our trade schools, TCTC is fantastic in Trumbull County.
Freaking amazing.
They got a podcast area there where they do their own podcast with the students running it. And it would be like you having 20 interns here running around doing the equipment. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. They're on the cutting edge of stuff. These businesses know they need to do that again. And this is something that we've lacked for so many years. And basically, we've had a big pity party in the Valley for many, many years. But that it was caused because we've been shit on by the state and the feds. And we've been the armpit of the state for so many years. And as the whole state, bringing politics into it again, kind of flipped red the whole state-wise, we were still, that's the Democrats up in the Mahoning Valley. We don't need to do anything with them. We saw that flip now with the flipping of seats and now being able to play partisan politics a little better. We got a red carpet to Columbus right now, where the governor's been here, senators have been here, Bernie Moreno has been here, John Hughes has been here, more than we've ever seen federal politicians here again. And they know, even Vivek Ramaswamy he's coming to speak at our Republican Lincoln dinner because he knows my future is in Northeast Ohio. The jobs are coming to Northeast Ohio. The money's coming to Northeast Ohio. It's not Cincinnati anymore. It's not the three C's. It's areas like us that are going to be leading Ohio into the future, and everyone's starting to see that. And with that, we got to prepare our workforce. We got to step up our game. All the schools we have here, they've got to step it up and prepare for this. We're so used to losing and getting beat on for so many years. A lot of people just kind of gave up on it. But fortunately,
there's reason though.
There is.
So
I'm not saying wrongly so.
So I was working with MCCTC and their network engineers and their IT engineers, and we'll say like 50 students were going through all the curriculum that would prepare them to be engineers in the Valley. Of those 50 people, I bet you 15 ended up local, and every other one of them, they would make $125,000 moving anywhere but the Valley, and they would have to make concessions to make $60,000 here in the Valley because of family or their roots or whatever. So you're combating other markets that are so far ahead of us that we have that brain drain that just goes completely outward. We got to offer something better so that the next generation chooses us. If it's not just salary, it's got to be culture. If it's not culture, it's got to be innovation. There's got to be something forward looking. And I think
the arts,
leadership,
the parks, the hospitals, 100%. That all goes hand in hand with that. Yep. And we are changing. We're starting to see our Valley change for that. But what we do have here, our ace in the hole, is we've got Eastgate. We got the Port Authority. We got the Chamber of Commerce. We got some of the best economic team that the world can put together. When you look at the brilliant minds, Lake to River with the Jobs Ohio, that was a brilliant move. That was something for years and years. We got hind tit. Whatever Cleveland left us in Jobs Ohio is what we got. After Cleveland and Akron was taken care of, we were in their region. We got the scraps. Our economic people lobbied together. They went to the governor and said, we need our own region. 4 counties, we need our own cut of the pie. We're tired of eating the crumbs off everyone else's pie. And we got it. And right now they're putting that money into innovation. They're recruiting businesses to come here. They got a whole economic team that works together. And again, on that economic team, there's Democrats and Republicans hand in hand working every single day to bring economic development to the Valley. And like I said, this technology you have here, I said you were ahead of the curve. We've got people here working for us that are ahead of the curve, that were foresighted to know what's coming. It's just getting the public up to speed, to bring the public, bring the workforce, bring the landlords that have the buildings and the land up to speed to get the stuff done. And I believe in the team that we have. I think we're gonna be great. I'm the type of guy looks at the glass not only half full but overflowing right now. We've had our bumps and bruises in the past, but it's a new day and a new era in Mahoning Valley, and working together. And that's another thing too. For years and years and years, there was a wall between Trumbull County and Mahoning County. Commissioners never got together. They never met. They never discussed things. Our state reps were fighting for us. Their state reps were fighting for them.
More competition than cooperation.
Right. Now we're working together. If a guy works at Kimberly-Clark, he may live in Boardman or Austintown. He may build a house in North Jackson. If somebody's working in Mahoning Valley at one of the distribution centers or factories or whatever over in North Jackson, he might live in Kinsman. He might live in Champion. He might live in Hartford. We got to think of this thing more of a region with this, and not it's got to be ours and not yours. We have to share in the wealth together as a Valley. We have to come together more as a Valley, and that's Democrats working with Republicans, working with independents, Mahoning County citizens working with Columbiana County citizens, and Mahoning and Trumbull and Ashtabula, and us all working together. It's kind of like Northeast Ohio against the world, and that's the way we're going to succeed in all this stuff, and it's happening more and more each and every single day.
So back to data centers, the 3 biggest contentions on data centers. Number one, I'll hit electricity first. Electricity consumption. Does Northeast Ohio have the capacity to do multiple data centers and still not jack up the charges and rates for consumers? Is it your belief that they do or no?
We do. And part of it is we need to get some love from First Energy. We need to allow more energy centers to open up. We've got Trumbull Energy right now, and they're getting resistance from one of the communities as far as they want to create power is what they want to do. The neighbors around there said, we don't want not in my backyard. The NIMBY effect.
Yeah.
First Energy has had infrastructure type things at even General Motors. They got 3 different plants there that used to fuel the factory with electricity. Only one of them is working. So we got to get that injection and get the other ones up and running again. Not a new one, just fix what they had before, which is going to add to the grid. We got to work nationally too. We got to work with Mike Rowley, has to work with Dave Joyce, has to work with Bernie Moreno and John Houston. There's a 19-state consortium that the reason our electric bills are so high is they jacked up the rates from like $4 to $27 a unit, whatever it is, to store electricity in this 19-state pact there. That's PUCO needs to get involved in that and fix that.
Are they increasing production? Are they building more plants?
They need to build more plants. And you look at it too, where does electricity come from?
The Ohio River, the nuclear facilities.
Where did it come from forever?
Natural gas.
Coal.
All right.
What happened under last administration?
Coal. Drive
down Route 7. What are they tearing down right now? The state's biggest coal plant in the state that produced electricity. Now that's gone. Now you got to make that up somewhere else. You know, if you take away, you know, it's the same type of thing. You know, you did drive an electric car. I don't know if you still do or not.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, when you go to a charging station, where did electricity come from that charges your car? It isn't solar. It isn't wind that you're charging your car with. That electricity probably came from a generator, or when they come to fix your car, they got a generator that is either natural gas, oil, fuel based on it. And electricity probably came from coal or nuclear somewhere to generate that electricity, which you're going to now put in your car and store. So I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying we still have to have
has to still come from somewhere.
It still has to come from somewhere.
But I don't see the state of Ohio increasing production. I see them very, you know, they're managing what they have, but I don't see a big push for them creating new facilities. Or even if you do a solar farm, I know Ohio's not great for solar. Wind, they're tinkering with it, but it's not, you know, besides Lake Erie, it's not a great option. I think if we've got vast resources of coal with West Virginia and Southern Ohio, you got natural gas and liquid natural gas. I mean, we really need to innovate in that space so we can produce enough for these eventual data centers.
And it is happening. And one of the big projects I'm working on right now is the 3011 project, where they want to run natural gas line from Route 30 up Route 11 to Lake Erie. And they want to create a CNG factory there where we can export natural gas all over the world on ships and utilize it in Northeast Ohio. People in Trumbull County, a lot of them don't have natural gas. They don't have pipelines. They don't have the infrastructure.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
They use propane. They use wood heat. I was just with people in Mecca last night. West side of Mecca has no natural gas lines all the way to Bristol. And I said, how do you heat your home? Geothermal. Some of the people are all electric homes. Some of the people have wood-fired
heating oil tanks.
Heating oil tanks still. They still deliver fuel oil up there to a majority of the northern part of the county. That's something too. We need that happen. We need these pipelines to do that. We need the infrastructure to do that. Natural gas is absolutely the way of the future,
100%.
More so than anything else. And I think we do have some buses and stuff that are fueled by natural gas. You know, instead of regular fuel, you know, they've got CNG. Some more WRTA buses are that way, and that's the newer technology coming forward. So there are ways to make this happen, and that's innovative ways. First of all, if someone wants to create power, we got to give them the permit to do it. Our community has to welcome them to the community, find the land, and allow that by vote of the people, usually allow them to do what they need to do here. We're going to have that stuff as these communities realize they need to be part of the solution with us. They need to jump on board with it.
Is Trumbull County, do they have pockets of natural gas where is there exploration going on up there? Or is that?
We got as much underneath us as they have in Southeastern Ohio in the richest reserves. Our problem with what happened with our oil and gas boom up here, the fracking and Utica shale, is they could drill a well here, get as much oil and gas out of it as they did in Columbiana or Jefferson. But if they're going to move it to get it from A to B, when you go to Jefferson County, they go talk to 3 landowners that sign a lease, and that 3 landowners, they can move that stuff 3 miles. They come up here and they drill a well in Champion, Ohio. They get to deal with 75 landowners to move it a 1/4 mile, because you got to go through everyone's property and get leases signed. So it's harder. It's harder because there's so many more people condensed together. And if one guy wants to hold out and say, nope, not me. You need to give me 10,000 an acre and 7,000. They're like, why would they go here? Oil is like water. It's going to go to the area of least resistance. And right now, Southeast Ohio, you can get the big pockets of landowners where you can put a well and deal with 25 people that are tapping in that well instead of 250 people that would be in a well up here. So it's just a matter of philosophy. We have it. Technology eventually will hit us where we can get it. And this is something too that as we get the pipelines to move it, you'll see more of that happening.
Is there interest in that? Or are there production? I mean, do you have population densities enough to be able to justify power creation ahead of data centers, but just like if somebody comes and invests, $2 billion to build a natural gas production facility, if the data centers don't happen, if moratoriums stick and nobody wants these and whatever, like what would you do with that $2 billion investment if there's not an output for it?
Well, we absolutely can handle that. Our economic team is ready for that to happen.
Can we address some of the pushback?
Sure.
So Matthew says, in what way is natural gas the future? It's cleaner than coal, but come on, this is why America is so behind.
Because it's plentiful. We have technologies to be able to do it so that it doesn't have huge impact environmentally. And I think if you're sitting on a resource that is easy to get to, is in high demand, and you can put it out to market, like why would you not use something that's at your disposal? That makes no sense. Mm-hmm. Like you can do nuclear, but nuclear has our population would never support something that costs so much and has so much regulation as building a nuclear facility. Mm-hmm. So the next best thing is going to be coal and natural gas. And so why not use it if we have it?
And I think that's, as we've seen things change in our lifetime, that's going to scare some investors a little bit too. I mean, we know the coal's away, and right now they are building some coal-fired plants in West Virginia again. Some of the ones that were torn down, they want to rebuild. But is that a good investment? You're thinking maybe 10, 15, 20 years down the road, administrations change. Are they going to shut you down again? So there's some uncertainty in the market, in the world market right now, with what is the future of energy happening. Look at all the people invested in solar and all the people invested in wind turbines. They're tearing them down, and there's graveyards full of wind turbines now that people aren't using. They're actually tearing some of them down and recycling the metal out of them because they just didn't work. And then you get a change of administration. You don't get the tax break like they did before. And then all of a sudden it's not as attractive as it was before.
Yeah. And if you're joining us, Denny is a big wilderness guy. Like the environment and wildlife is his forte. So I trust his expertise in this because I know that he would never put something that he loves and is part of his passion at risk. So if there was a plant that he felt like if you put up coal and it was going to poison the entire environment and, wipe out herds of deer and birds and fowl, he would not be someone who would go along with the popular belief that energy is more important than wildlife or environment. So I know you've got a really good balance between taking those two things.
Where I hunt in Carroll County, Jefferson County, Harrison County, those are areas that people listening maybe have never gone to. But if you're a hunter, that's a
You've
mecca
been there.
where you want to go.
Absolutely.
And I hunt on these farms where, for a year or two it was bad because they were putting a well in and they had to build roads and it disrupted the wildlife and it was bad. Now they have a little footprint that's like a quarter acre where the well site is. You don't even know it's there, and you're hunting all around it. The habitat's growing back. The brush is going back around it. And it's been kind of reclaimed in a sense that the footprint that they leave is so minimal. But the landowners down there, I saw it get rich. I mean, the poorest people in the state of Ohio, the poor farmers that were working the dirt, working their fingers to the bone, all got paid. In Eastern Ohio, it revolutionized Eastern and Southeastern Ohio, where now people were creating businesses, trucking companies to truck the water to and from the sites, and pipeline guys and trades, people getting into the union trades. Talk to Marty Loney at the Western Reserve Building Trades and ask him how many welders he has out there looking for a job. Ask him how many people they got sitting in the union hall on their butts waiting for a phone call. None. They're getting them jobs as soon as they get them out there,
Nice.
As soon as they get them trained.
That is so good to hear.
And that's something, too, we need to bring back. We talked about the schools and talk about the TCTCs and the tech schools. That's where the money is. It isn't going to college and getting a degree and then hoping you're in the field that you graduated from. Some of my friends that are most successful, they got that way by being smart, getting in the trades when they were young. They're 30, 35 years old, buying their fourth and fifth rental house, because they made so much money from the skills that they got: welding, electricity, plumbing. That's something that's never going to go out of style. And I think we got away from that for a while. I think that's the future of our valley too. And we learned that through the oil and gas boom when we were horribly outmanned when it came to that. We had to look and see in southeastern Ohio, in the areas like Carroll County, it was Arkansas, Texas, and Mississippi plates everywhere. Yeah. And the reason was we didn't have Ohio people that can fill these jobs to be landmen and fill the jobs to be out there, oil riggers and stuff, because we just never had that. We caught up, and they started doing Shale Academy and getting some of those trades back in there. But that has helped too. It's helped revolutionize the whole trade industry, the whole union industry. And I think that's helped craft a little bit too. When you look at the unions, they traditionally were all Democrat. Now, traditionally, their membership is all Republican because it's jobs. It's all about jobs. It's all about the economy and being able to produce for your family and being able to get a job, a good paying job.
Yeah. I hunt down in Caddis, and when you drive down that way, I mean, if you sit down and say, well, like, we're destroying the environment and power plants poison everything, you really need to explore what really happens in Ohio. And the media will scare you. Like, talking with a guy like you who knows what's going on, communication and this messaging is so important, so that if I'm coming out of the trade school and I want to believe whether or not Ohio has a future ahead of it, if I listen to you, I think things are really good. If I listen to the media, I think that everything has, darkened radioactive material everywhere, and there's no deer herds and everything's terrible. So I wish the state and the counties were better at communicating what's really going on, so that people could pay attention to something other than the media.
Right. It's there. And our future is, again, I hate change worse than anybody in the world. I'm a traditionalist. I like to have the hunting season on the same day. I like to make sure Thanksgiving dinner is produced the same way by the same ants that did it since I was a little kid. Because it works.
I'm
not a big guy for change.
Yeah.
But there is some change out there that is happening. There is change out there that is for the good. And we've already made every mistake in the world we can make as a valley. We've already been beat on. We've been crapped on. We've been disregarded. We've been thrown out to the trash in the Mahoning Valley. And finally we got up, we wiped the dust off of our pants. We grabbed our work boots, and we're going to work our way out of this. This is something that jobs are going to work us into our future. We're not going to sit there and wait for government handouts. We're not going to sit there and wait for subsidies. We're going to work our way out of this and work our way into our future. And that requires the 18-year-old kid that's out there now getting ready to graduate, doesn't know what he's going to do. I'll tell you one thing he's not going to do is go sit on grandma's couch and play video games till he's 30 and still living, be a basement creature in your mom's basement. He's going to get out there and work if he's going to succeed in this life, because we're not going to look at that the same way we did the last dozen or 20 years, where people can do that and get by and survive and sit there and just bitch about why not me? Why we're going to make it happen. And the leaders that work with me, the leaders in the communities, they're the ones going to be pushing this. We're going to be pushing the teachers to do it better. We're going to be pushing the elected officials to do better, for the trustees to do better. And then it's ultimately going to come down to parental responsibility. Tell your kid he can succeed. Push your kid in a direction of success. Let them know the value of what you invest now is going to make you retire earlier. You want to go to Florida on vacation, you want to retire to Florida someday, you got to work hard now to do that. And I think that mentality, I'm afraid for some of these kids, because I think we missed a generation or two that we're going to be taking care of some of these people the rest of their lives, because they're not going to be able to take care of themselves. We got to stop that.
There's like a YOLO mentality now, and everything's like, life is short. You only live once. There's also this new way of being kind of conditioned to have instant gratification, and, well, I did this and now I want this and now I want this. And it's like, when do we bring back the idea of building towards it rather than getting it right away? I feel like the kid that wants to be a social media influencer and a YouTube star could just look out the window and see his buddy that got a trade and is driving the $70,000 truck in his 30s and is buying his first house already, and he's single and banking money. They need to see that more and more. And I think as that happens and these people get the good jobs, there's going to be peer pressure for people to step it up, and they're going to be influenced maybe by their own friends. I mean, even the influencers, if you talk to an actual, truly successful money-making influencer, they'll tell you they did it for 10 years before they saw a dime, that they're constantly editing, shooting, working, looking for sponsors, looking for people to contribute financially, trying to have those meetings on the side. I think people think I'm going to get out my cell phone, I'm going to shoot myself pointed on the internet, and I'm going to be a millionaire like that.
Unless you have boobs and booty shorts.
I was just going to say.
Boobs and booty shorts.
Unless it's OnlyFans.
You get it. Yeah. All right. I'm going to let you respond to some comments that came in, and I do feel like you were judged to my Call of Duty addiction. Thanks a lot. Western Reserve Building Trades has all the crafts and training through their union apprenticeship program. I'm proud to be retired union carpenter who helped build our valley.
Amen. I encourage that 100%.
Matthew says, got to invest in nuclear power.
I don't disagree.
Michael says we need 2 more natural gas power plants in Lordstown. When they shut down and knocked out the Samus power
That's
plant.
the coal plant on Route 7.
It would take 4 gas-fired plants to make up the loss for 3,200 megawatts that supplied our valley. Easy to get to does not equal clean. Nuclear is far cleaner and produces higher paying jobs. And nuclear is very expensive, and it really caters to high population densities. So you have lower population densities, you got to have like a second tier to that. We can't build nuclear everywhere to cover all of the demand. So like coal, like natural gas, as long as the innovations make it clean, make it so that it doesn't make the environment toxic, it can be done where it's a product that can be sold to consumers and not be more expensive than what they have. I mean, there's no downside to that. Abby says electricity historically has not been able to be stored. Electricity storage is new technology and infrastructure is coming, but doesn't widely exist. Due to that, electricity has to be created based on demand. Excess production would have only increased costs with no benefit. Now that we have demand increasing exponentially, production and storage will have the rapidly increase to meet the demand. And we did talk about this yesterday. Like there are innovations in China right now that are taking both chemical batteries, gravity batteries. Like there's 1,000 different ways to store energy once produced by a facility. Like we've done it sort of the most inefficient way, where we have capacity and we try to be like 105% based on capacity, and we roll it back based on consumer demand. But we have no real way of storing that energy.
And we're going to get there, Joe. You got to just think of our lifetime. 20 years ago, I had a bag phone plugged into my car and was paying $4 a minute for a freaking call. Mm-hmm. Now I get a phone here right now that has more capacity than IBM had back in the 70s in my hand. These things are technology is going to push it towards better technology, better storage, better prices, but we have to allow us to innovate. We got to go through the motions to do that. We've seen so much change just in our short little lifetime that we want the instant stuff now. It's going to come. It's going to happen. That's why a lot of these people, I disagree with people. They're like, you're using up all our natural resources. You're using up all our oil. You're using up all our gas. Technology is going to advance in our lifetime, that what we're doing now to create power and what we're doing, I guarantee you 20 years from now isn't going to be the same.
100%.
So do we need to save that oil for the next 300 years? No, we're going to be beyond something, beyond that oil in a decade maybe. So yeah, we got to conserve resources. We got to be smart with what we do. We don't need to rape the planet. But at the same time, we know it's coming. We just have to allow the innovation to happen. We have to nurture it. We got to get people educated to do that stuff. We got to get people's minds thinking outside the box and thinking of a new future and thinking of what's going to happen in the future. And I think we're doing that right now in the Mahoning Valley. We went from the steel mills to the automobiles to tech. Who would have thought that we're like Silicon Valley? Who would have thought that they want to do batteries in a 6 million square foot facility, and that's not big enough for them to make the components and the data that or the technology that they're going to make there? That's a blessing. I mean, anyone that's naysaying that, I'm scratching my head and I'm like, why? That's going to create financial security for you and your kids well into the future by allowing this stuff to happen.
So when I was a kid, my dad always told me that any innovations happen in California, and took about 2.5 to 4 years to make its way to Ohio before we'd be even open to it. It had to be well proven out. And then over the years, that shortened, where there's some innovations that start closer to our borders and get more to Ohio. So I think the population is warming up to the fact that if we start something out that's unproven, you have the Ultima factory, and we have these things that would otherwise be only on the West Coast. They would be the only venture capitalists that would even entertain something that wasn't proven out yet. Right. I think we're warming up to it enough that we can start doing these things in Ohio.
And in our future too, an issue that really struck me hard last week, they were relining the sewers in downtown Warren, and it caused a big gas funk in the county building. We had to shut it down. And it was when I got into the research of what happened, and I realized our sewers that were built in Warren were over 100 years old, and they're brick-lined sewer systems. And I'm thinking, holy cow, we're still using that technology. And I'm like, When we had the Great Depression, how did we get out of it? We worked our way out of it. They had the TVA and they started building roads and infrastructure, and the government started putting money into that. We're going to need a new revolution like that here because all of our infrastructure is bad now. We got pipes breaking, we got sewer lines, we got bridges, we got roads that are 100 years old now that need refurbished. And that's something where we need to start gearing our mindset into not just putting Band-Aids on stuff anymore, but actually getting in there and fixing them. And I think that's going to be a way that we're going to work our way out of any bumps that we have here through that. Also, as we prepare the way for new technology, we still got to take care of what we have at the same time.
Yeah, and it forces it, because if you have high capacity energy that needs to be distributed to smaller markets like Lordstown, like Hubbard, whatever, and your infrastructure for power distribution was made in the 1900s when they had the steel mills, they had the tax base to be able to build that stuff. And today everybody's looking around like, if we were to build that today, there would be no money to create that. So they nurture it for 100 years. But if you had an influx of money in from data centers, then municipalities could reinvest that money into recreating that, that it creates a forced adaptability.
Right.
You know?
And that leads me to another topic I kind of wanted to touch on today, Joe, if we could.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the money that we get and looking at how much we're taxed. I want to get into the tax thing just a little bit, because that all goes hand in hand. And the more jobs you have, the higher the wages are, the more people pay in income tax. Maybe the higher the house they have, the more they're going to pay in property tax. Sales tax is going to be affected because people have more money to spend. And it all revolves around that whole tax thing and other people's money, spending other people's money.
Right.
I do it every day as a county commissioner. State reps do it every day. The governor does it every day. The Senate does it every day. Trustees do it every day. They spend other people's money. Mm-hmm. We got away from being able to take care of our own here in this country. We don't build TV sets anymore. We don't take care of our own community. We import it. We import the technology. We import all this stuff. And in a sense, too, we're importing government in a sense, too, with funding, where we're getting other people's money to fund things that we do. We could take care of our own much better than I trust someone else taking care of us. In the days of living on subsidies, subsidized handouts, and people getting away from working to take care of their own, to taking care of their own communities, we need to change that mindset a little bit too. And with that, property taxes is one of them. We've hit this issue pretty hard this week in Trumbull County when we're looking at the state comes in years ago and they decide we're going to reassess your property every 6 years, and people's property is going up. Well, if you got a guy who's living in a house that he bought for $150,000, and the state comes in every 6 years and said, no, guess what? Your house, congratulations, your house is now worth $250,000 based on the market around you, based on all our things, and they're going to tax you on a $250,000 house. If you plan on living in that house till you die, why are you getting penalized for success and building something cheap? And you're going to keep paying for something. And there are people that we're dealing with now in the Mahoning Valley whose mortgages now were less in the day when they bought their house than what their taxes are. They're paying more in taxes every year than they paid for the mortgage when they built their house in the 70s. That's wrong. Why the hell are we taxing people on something they already own, something they already paid for, something they already did?
Mine doubled. Mine went from $3,200 a year to $5,900 per year. And I have not noticed an increase in services by double. I have not experienced that at all.
Now, we need services. Of course, taxes is what pays for your firemen. Taxes is what pays for you dial 911 for someone to show up and save you. That's what pays for your roads getting paved and you're not tearing your Tesla up when you're heading home. Taxes are an essential part of the thing. It's people taking care of people. But what we're dealing with here, what I've realized, in Trumbull County, we got the lowest sales tax in the state, 6.75%. And people think, oh, you're getting all this money, all this retail, you got the mall, you got car dealers, you're bringing in $30-40 million a year off that. The state's taking 5.75% of that to the state, and they leave us 1% from money that our citizens spent in our county on products made by our people, and the state saying, thank you, we'll take 5.75 of that. And we got to operate on one. And what the state does, it says, well, you need more, we'll allow you to charge up to 3% more. We'll allow you to charge up to 8.75% sales tax. I'm not raising my damn taxes on people. Give me some of our money that you just took from us.
At least 4% back.
And you cut some of your programs in the state. Give us another percentage back. That would be $32 million more in Trumbull County. Why did we allow that to happen? Who was asleep at the wheel? That state dig that deep in our pocket that they're taking 90% of our tax money and putting it in Columbus for Columbus to frivolously use. $4 billion in a rainy day fund.
Denny. They can spend
hundreds
it
of
better
millions
than you.
for a stadium. They think they do.
Absolutely.
But guess what? We're the people. We're the people. That's our money. We can fight back. We can outvote people. We can control things if we unify together and we're smart enough and not just letting it happen. It's like we let it happen for so many years. And now we're at the situation where it's on our backs when we can't pay the bills that need done in the county. And they tell us to raise our sales tax or raise taxes. That's not the way of the future that we're going. That needs to be changed. That needs to be rectified in some way, shape, or form. We could take care of ourselves in Trumbull County if you just leave us our people's money a little bit more. And I know it's controversial and people are flipping out about that, but there are seniors in homes. There are, the owner occupancy tax. We're going to double in Trumbull County. We're going to give a break to everyone that owns a home in Trumbull County. We're going to double what they're getting right now. The state allows a percentage off. We're going to double that, which we can do by this new House Bill 96. We need to get away from that mentality of things, and we need to take care of ourselves better.
It is funny. My husband and I built our house when we moved back here in 2023. And to us, this is our forever home. We don't want to move. We have no plans to move. As far as I'm concerned, I'll die in this house. Well, our mortgage company, every so often, I get these emails like, hey, let's see what your house is worth now. Hey, look at what your house is worth now. And like a chump, I'm reading these emails like, oh, our house is worth more than we paid. Oh, wow, it's worth even more than we paid. And now I'm like, oh, crap. That's probably
your taxes reflect with it.
Yeah.
If you're moving, that's great.
Yeah.
If you're not going to move,
We're
that
not moving.
sucks.
So I'm like, oh, no.
So are you a fan of DeWine's tax policy? Do you think Vivek or any of these other conservatives, do you think will do a better job?
I know they'll do a better job.
Okay.
I think we have to move in that direction. We have to move in a direction of change. This is something that the government's had their hand in our pocket for way too many years. And I said it the other day, we need to put our hand in the government's pocket and take some of our money back. Finally, we need to do that.
Now, you met with Vivek a bunch of times,
Oh, yeah.
right? And so give me your feelings. Like, I've only seen publicly, seems like a smart business guy, seems like he's very conservative. He's articulate in his policy. I think he'd be a good communicator for the state. But when the cameras aren't on him, what's he like?
I think he really does care. I think he's ultra smart. You look at his education, and some people, the smartest people I know, got the least common sense sometimes. They get the smarts, but they don't get the street smarts.
I feel triggered again. Dude.
Well, Joe,
what the hell?
This
is twice.
I'm not pointing a finger intentionally, but if the shoe fits. But the smartest people sometimes are socially awkward. Sometimes they just don't have the street smarts, but they got all the brains in the world. I think he's got a little blend of both. I think he's been on the streets enough, and he's carved his way in society enough. He wants to get rid of property tax. He wants to get rid of income tax too. How he's going to do that?
Boom.
I don't know, but I remember back in the day, trafficking saying we need to eliminate all taxes and just make it a sales tax based society. That if you pay into it, you're going to be penalized on what you buy and what you use. We're not going to put it on the backs of people that don't buy. If someone comes from out of the country and they go to Vegas on vacation, they're paying in our tax system by whatever they buy, their hotel room, whatever it is. And then trafficking used to say you'd be able to do your income tax on a
postcard.
A postcard.
Yeah, right. I remember
that was his big thing, is let's base it all on that. Florida does that. When you look at what Florida does, they don't tax their citizens. They tax us when we go on vacation to Florida.
That's exactly right.
You stay in a hotel, you go to a restaurant, you go to a resort. If you come from out of the area and you're going to recreate in Florida, have a great time, Mr. Malloy, but make sure you leave your damn money here with us where you're not getting a free ride.
Do you think that affects tourism?
Are people not going to Florida? Are people not going to Vegas?
I mean, you gotta, if you have a good product,
we've got shitty weather. Nobody's coming to do tourism the same way that Florida does.
What about for areas that are not at all warm and sunny, like Florida?
Like Tennessee, like Nashville's killing it, and they're
Youngstown,
moderate. Ohio. No. No, nobody's coming to the beaches of Ohio.
Right.
Well, I can tell you this much.
Right.
We got 1.6 million people come to Mosquito Lake every year to recreate.
Fine.
And 80% of them have license plates outside of Trumbull County.
How about
so
Geneva?
We're getting people. People
Lake
aren't
Erie.
moving around. Geneva.
Yeah.
You got Lake Erie brings people from all over the place, all over the Midwest. You got Cedar Point. We got the Amish communities.
Tourism.
We've got cabins in Southeast Ohio. There is there is tourism here, and we can capitalize on that a lot more than what we do.
When in the summer, do we still thrive in the winter with tourism?
We got ski resorts.
Ski resorts, Brandywine, like we got killer ski resorts.
No, I'm not a skier.
So Mahoney County is very removing property taxes for some reason. They are fearful that when you dry up that inflow of capital, how are they going to pay for county services when they lose property tax? It feels like you're a little bit more open to.
Well, I'm the way of, I guess, Vivek, of, you know what? Challenge me on that. Go ahead and we'll give the tax back. We'll leave it with the people. Then make us find a way to still pay the bills and get things done.
You think
make
it
us
can be
provide
done?
the service. I think it can be done. And I think we saw it in Trumbull County. We had a little bit of a budget scare last year, and we tightened up the purse strings. And we realized through that we could operate on less. We made it through. Nobody got laid off, and all the services were provided. Were people happy about it? No. Were there naysayers? Were there critics? Yeah. But we streamlined government in Trumbull County. And if you're going to cut taxes, you got to cut spending. You got to cut spending on something. A lot of the frivolous stuff where we may have, instead of a department head buying a lunch for their staff or doing something different, maybe they said, hey, the commissioners are watching. I'll pay out of my own pocket to take care of my employees, or I'll do something. There were things that were done. There were positions not created. There were raises not given out. Not that the people were getting shorted, but it had to be justified. And people had to justify the moves they made to us to continue to get the rest of their budget. And they did it. And we cut spending in a big way, and we made it through the year. We can continue to do that in government, in all facets of government. Now, I know what the state's doing. They're trying to force you into regionalization. Dave Thomas just introduced a bill. I just read about it on the way here today, to make it easier for townships to incorporate to become a village or a city so they can charge income tax. I don't like that way of going with things either. And income tax, paying a city tax, I live in townships. I'm a township guy. No way in hell am I moving into Warren and giving Warren some of my income that I work hard for so that they can frivolously spend the money. I'd rather private business spend it. So
what would your revenue streams be if you were to just dry up property taxes? What would your go-to could bring in at least as much money as property tax did, but make it so that it's more evenly distributed?
Well, we've got properties too with this oil and gas stuff. We're not making money off energy. Why isn't the counties investing in electricity and energy and power plants and getting into municipal things that people need? City of Niles did it right. They got the water rights to Meander in the city of Youngstown, and they recharge it to the rest of the county and make a profit off of us. So why don't we control the infrastructure that's here in a better way? And you could do that with services. And you're not taxing somebody. You're just charging them for what they use. You're making them pay their fair share, whether it be a township, whether it be 911. We had I said it was there again yesterday. We looked at our 911. Everybody wants 911 to get help. We got calls coming in for municipalities all over Trumbull County that we don't bill a damn thing for. It's on the backs of the county government to pay for it. We got calls we got dispatchers there sending calls out to Warren and places, and they're not getting paid back fairly for what they're doing. And the county's going in a deficit by doing providing a service to the whole rest of the county that they really shouldn't be doing.
And those cities are charging income tax, and you're providing the service, and they're getting it for free.
They're charging income tax and paying us 50% of what the townships pay us for 911 services. I mean, that's a whole discussion in itself. We got to start collecting what is owed on it and quit giving so many discounts and handouts and subsidies, not only to the whole rest of the community. If everyone just did their fair share, we'd be fine. And we understand the state's taking money away from townships. They got to provide money back. When they collect the sales tax, those townships deserve some of that money back. They absolutely do. But what I brought up earlier, asking for a percentage of that back and let us keep 2%. Don't make us raise it 1%. Give us one of your percents, or we'll take it. We'll vote the people in office to take that money back, to leave more money on the local level. So they really screwed our townships in the past. The state, they fed the townships, fed them like a drug addict. And then when they got hooked on the government money, they took it away and then started selling them the hard stuff that they had to buy. We can't have that type of mentality
So anymore. You are certain that if we took property tax away, you'd still be able to pay for schools, police, fire. There would not be like a shortfall because of it.
I think if we took property tax away, which is an unvoted on mandate from the state, and if somebody wanted to put a levy or their own tax in a township, there's a way we can do that where the resident can pay for fire, police, and roads direct to the township out of their taxes, and have their own tax system where it isn't a property tax where it's getting split between the state and the county and the township and all these pieces cut in there. Communities can take care of themselves that way. And if they want their own police department and the citizens put it to a vote and they vote having it, God bless them.
So maybe not so much do away with anything, just give it a power to
do
the people
away
to
with
decide.
Do away with the unvoted on ones. And the businesses are still going to pay taxes. Because if a business is there in our community and we're going to provide services for them, for the workers there, and they're taking stuff out of the income they're paying the employees, they should have to pay for their way.
Now, a concern is when counties or municipalities start making infrastructure investments, there's a lot of boneheaded investments that they make. So like Oak Hill is a good example of, they get involved in something. It's a big cluster, not done with the outside. Like the private industry would have never taken that on because the liabilities connected with it would far exceed any of the value. So when you have a county, how much of a cooperation between the private industries, people that are investors that come in and give you good wisdom so that the counties make good investments with water, with utilities, and so forth. That's
where you got to have the right economic people on your side, because if when a politician's spending other people's money, it's not like they're spending their own money. If our congressmen balanced our budget in the country like they balance their own checkbooks, they would be a hell of a lot more efficient. When you're spending other people's money, they take risks. It's not no skin off their ass. It's someone else's money. It's your tax money. It's not mine. It's not coming out of my wallet. You got to hold these people responsible. You got to get the right people in place, and you got to get the right people behind for the right reasons to guide them into the future. I'm no financial professional. As a county commissioner, I'm not an expert in bridges. I'm not an expert in the roads. I'm not an expert in jails. I'm not an expert in planning with the planning commission. What I am good at is picking the right people who are the experts to do the job, picking the right department heads. And I think that's when you elect your representatives. There's no Superman out there that can be Joe County government, know everything about it. But you want to pick the person in there that is good at picking the right people to do it and screening the right people so that that area is covered. And I think that's what I bring to the table with things, is being inclusive for the whole county and making sure we put the right people in the right places so that we can succeed. Because right out of the gate, the days of old in the Mahoning Valley was bringing friends in. Bringing my buddy who needs a job.
That's the concern with the
if
public.
You want campaign money, this guy needs a job. Help him out. Throw him in here.
I'll throw $100 million your way.
That's done.
Well, and that's the thing. Like the concern of the community would be that if you make a private or a public investment into some kind of utility or infrastructure, where property taxes is a sure thing, there's 0% chance that you're not going to be able to scrape off of the value of property owners. When you get involved in something like the waterways or a utility, if you make a boneheaded move, like if I would have invested in Oak Hill and said, hey, we'll take 5% scrape off of what Oak Hill does in tenants or increased in efficiency, I would have never scraped a dollar off of that entire investment.
Right.
That's the concern.
Yep. And that's something too. This whole mentality of you buy it and then you rent it back through taxes, that's got to change. The only thing, and I said this yesterday, I've said it a few times, the only thing you actually ever own forever that they can't take back off you, that they can't tax you on, is your cemetery plot.
Is there a cemetery plot tax, by the way?
Well, they probably, when you buy it, there's probably a sales tax on it, but they can't come dig it out of your wallet in the grave. So once you own that chunk, they're not going to tax you on that property.
I like
that you
that.
own.
You buy it and then you rent it back.
You do.
So
how fair is that? If you don't pay your rent, even though you bought it, we're going to take it from you.
Yeah.
We're going to take it from you.
So true.
Matthew says, we definitely need trades, but college-educated Americans long-term make more money. It's a statistical fact. Bachelor's degree holders earn a median of $80,236 annually compared to $48,000 for high school graduates.
I wish that was my experience.
But at the same time, let's look at his next comment.
Yeah.
The deunionization of some jobs have destroyed the earning power of the middle class.
So you need the blend. We need the union middle class worker out there, and you need the educated. Someone needs to be the boss. Like Traffica used to say, he's the son of a truck driver, and his dad never worked for a poor man. There needs to be the person that has those skills to manage a business, run a business, to be the CEO, to be that niche of things. And then you need the guy that's out there turning the screws and working the hammer, or it doesn't function. You can't have one or the other. You got to have both.
I have a bachelor's degree, and let me be clear. I don't regret going to get it. I do value some of the experiences I got getting that bachelor's degree. But I will say, I have never, other than for a little while where I worked for a doctor who obviously needed some type of medical degree, every boss I have ever had, whether it was broadcasting, whether it was business, whatever, has never had a degree and no college. And I did, and I was never the one in that higher position or making what they made.
Well, and a lot of it depends on the field. My degree's in wildlife from West Virginia University. And I make the joke, I didn't play football senior year at Cardinal Mooney. We won the state championship that year. I quit because I wanted to go hunting on Saturdays with my dad and my buddies. So I quit playing football. But when I look back on it, I went to college in West Virginia. I got a degree in wildlife resources, became a wildlife biologist, got a job as a game warden, and then worked for Whitetails Unlimited. So I tell people, those people I played football with at Mooney, none of them went pro. I went hunting on Saturdays, and I went pro in hunting. I got a degree in what I was into. And in my situation, everyone I worked with did have a degree because you got to be able to identify what type of bird is that compared to that, or animal populations. That was a degree that was adapted and skilled toward the field we were in.
Yeah.
So you kind of need that in some fields. And then there's a lot of fields where you do need that blend of things. But I do believe college education is mega valuable. I mean, you need to have college education in many, many fields, especially, communication is the big thing. I think anybody can do anything if they're a good communicator.
That's my degree.
If they can figure it out. I mean, there are people that I know that got degrees, master's degrees, and they can't speak in front of a crowd. They can't communicate their wants to an employee.
I have been saying this for years.
They are not a leader when it comes to that stuff. I got experience through my college experience, speech class, dealing with professors, writing speeches, that I can communicate with you.
Networking.
Or we can communicate with thousands on a podcast right now, or put me in front of a lecture hall. If there's something I need to communicate that I need to sell them on something, to market my plan of whatever it is, I've got the skills for that because of the college that I went to and because of the world, the way that I was raised and brought up. So I think at least that is crucial. There are some people I know in this life that their wife has to pay all their bills for them. And if you're going to make a doctor's appointment, they're not going to touch the phone. Their wife's got to make it.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, how do you survive in society when you don't have those communication skills that you can't even call and make a doctor's appointment for yourself?
And it's almost been, at least in my experience, maybe yours, it's been the butt of a joke for very long. That communications is a throwaway degree. It's something that all the jocks do because it's easy. And then you look at other statistics, there's a statistic I read that public speaking is the number one fear of people, more so than death. People would rather die than talk to someone. Like you said, pick up the phone. That's rampant nowadays. Nothing is human-to-human interaction because it gives people such bad anxiety. They'll do just about anything to not have to do that. I don't want to have to speak in front of a crowd. I don't want to have to speak up during a meeting. I don't want to have to post anything on the internet. And have you experienced that it was almost mocked until it needs to actually be utilized? And then you're like, oh,
absolutely.
What now?
Absolutely. There's people a lot of times too. They're like, oh, Malloy, he's going to put his stuff in front of a damn camera. He doesn't shut up. He doesn't know when to shut his flapping lips. He's going to be blah, 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 blabbing, blabbing, blabbing. I hear that all the time. That's okay. I take that as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Because someone's got to do it. Someone's got to sell our valley right now. I'm a county commissioner. I'm selling my product is Trumbull County. My product is good jobs for the people that I represent in my county. My product that I have out there is selling the businesses, selling the tourism, selling the resources, getting the department heads to buy into the budget that I'm giving them or what we're working on, and then getting the public to trust the people that represent them. So that's a skill now that I'm mocked for.
Yeah.
But would I rather have anyone else doing it for me? No. I learned my skills through this microphone that I think were the most important skills I ever had in life.
And networking and the ability
Absolutely.
I feel like almost every job I've had was because I met someone and then I met someone and then I met someone. And I think, like you said, especially in sales or trying to reach people, you've got to go out and network and get involved with the decision makers in the area and get in with them. And people, I think, are so scared to do that.
And that's why I bring up our economic team in Trumbull County is if somebody wants to relocate here and they're looking for what services we could provide or what they base. I got a guy. I can make a phone call to Eastgate. I can make a phone call to Anthony Trevino at the Port Authority. I can make a phone call to Guy Coviello and say, hey, I got this. I need somebody. You just need to know where to steer them in the right direction so you don't send them down a dead-end road. You got to hook a guy up or hook a business up with the right people that are going to nurture the plan that they have and roll out the carpet for them and help them through the process. And that's why I said, like, Lordstown right now is so crucial. We got to rely on all of the people out there because we can't be everywhere. When leads come in, when people decide they want to move here, we should all be ambassadors to Trumbull County. Any elected official out there should be selling the township they work for and selling the good of it, not the bad. There's naysayers out there, keyboard warriors that are out there right now listening to this interview that want to criticize me on something. They're going to look for one little point.
I'll get to those right now.
I'm sure. And they're like,
you can't be on the internet without it, by the way.
He said this. Let me see what I can do. And there's Karens out there. There's male Karens.
Let me put words in your mouth.
And we all meet them. They got a plan. They think they could do better. I can run for this side and do that. And they're just a Karen and want to sit in the basement and criticize moves you made instead of rolling up the sleeves and making moves of their own and being part of the process. And we all know who those people are. We see them every day. You don't follow leaders like that. You follow leaders that are of positivity. I just saw someone here say something about me being an optimist. I love the optimism up top, Mr. Maluski.
Julie says Denny Malloy is a rep that I can get behind. Being a Trump fan is a little disappointing, but as a local leader, I can overlook that.
Hey, if you're not making waves, you're not swimming. I'm not everybody's
here
flavor.
To make everybody happy.
I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I don't care what political background Julie is. I'm going to fight for her if she wants good roads on her thing or she wants good
Julie
service.
Is here every show, and she and I disagree with a lot of principled things, but the two of us are reasonable. We justify our principles. We argue and have conversations, and every day we end up inviting each other back into our world. I wish everybody shared that, where just because we disagree doesn't mean it's the end of discussion. It means that we're going to keep throwing ideas out there till we can come to compromise.
For Julie to watch this and disagree with so much and come back every single day
Absolutely.
shows that she's willing to listen to other
And
ideas.
there's something I learned too through politics. My first 2 years were very difficult. We had a commissioner, to be unnamed,
Circumstance was terrible.
That was very difficult, that fought us on everything, fought the people, was disrespectful to the citizens, and I had to play defense every day when I was up there sitting at the dais on our meetings. I had to protect the citizens from this person. We got a board now that works together, and it's night and day when people actually work together. So I'm telling you, he tried to keep it together. When that circus was going on, that dumpster fire was raging, he did his best to stay professional and on point. And I felt for you every time I watched one of those meetings, how hard you tried. But now with the board I have, we get to play offense. We get to score touchdowns now. We don't have to tackle the quarterback or keep her behind the line of scrimmage. Well,
we're hinting.
We're hinting. The world knows. But you know what the sad part of it is? Listen, here's the sad part. There's people that miss that. There's people that like bad government. There's people that were entertained by that. They weren't thinking of the good of the valley with that. They're not looking at the optimism of what's good. They were happy admiring in that stuff and following the drama and wishing they had more of the drama. Our ratings went down on the commissioners. We're on YouTube every week and we stream it live every Wednesday at 10:30. You can watch our commissioner meetings. We went from like 4,000 people watching to like 40. Because the 4,000 people, they weren't watching to see good government. They don't like when, Denny just voted with Commissioner Bernard and they're voting together on something good for the valley. They want to see the train wreck. They wanted to see.
What was that dude's name that was on TV and it was after school and it would just have train wrecks of stories?
Jerry Springer?
Jerry Springer.
Yeah,
that's what it was. You went from Jerry Springer to something like Phil Donahue.
The only bad publicity is no publicity.
Right. And the newspapers would pick up on it and they'd plant something crazy. Front page. Are they planning a new business that's coming here? Are they planning that we just did something positive or that our road crew got the roads done and shoveled the walkways for everybody to get service to come and get their titles done? We're not covering that stuff. That's not
interesting.
That doesn't sell.
We just did a whole show on this yesterday about how if we talk about good news, movies, music, pleasantries, our comment section is crickets. There's nothing. But the moment you say Trump, Walz, Minnesota, all kinds of interactions.
I know it. There's one name that I could say, and people would be. And you'll see right away. I'm not going to say that.
Next Friday, you can say all you want.
I'm not going to give that any oxygen. That was a time in our history that's in the past that needs to stay buried forever. And that's something that hopefully we learn. We will never go through that again. But they saw the bad side. Now they see the good side. Now we're showing that we're working together. We're moving forward. We're working with the people. We're receptive. We're listening. A lot of the naysayers have dropped off. A lot of the boo birds are gone. They don't come in wearing anti-shirts and disrupting meetings and doing all that stuff. And it's such a nice change of pace to see our valley move on from that and know what we don't want and know where we shouldn't never be again. And then knowing where we're going in the future is just a breath of fresh air. And playing offense as a commissioner is so much more fun than playing defense.
Matthew's one of our more scrappy viewers.
But Carter did say, wow, I didn't know much about Denny, but this is a terrific interview.
Yeah.
So thank you, Carter. Matthew says, yeah, let's just push the environmental issue to our kids who we talk shit on all the time. That's the right way to go. Matthew also says 100% needs to invest in public infrastructure. No more band-aiding the roads and power. Where do we get our funding then? If we raise taxes to compensate, you're just hurting the lower class.
I agree. We don't want to raise. We're fighting like hell to not raise taxes in Trumbull County. We want more of our taxes already out there back. We want to get more that the state's already taken from us. We want to leave here locally so we can spend it on our projects. And
you want to recruit people to choose your county to live in because of the efficiency in fiscal spending, the services that you offer, how you take care of the people that are in your community. And I feel like, when Matthew's a big protector of the downtrodden, the lower classes, making sure that oppressive governments don't crush people.
Rising tides raise all ships.
That's right.
So if we got jobs for people, if we can create a middle class in Trumbull County that are working good paying jobs at Amazon, Foxconn, and Kimberly Clark, I mean, right there's 3,000 to 4,000 employees right there making $30 an hour. They're going to be able to take care of the poor better. They're going to be able to take care of their parents better. They're going to be able to take care of grandma better. They're going to be able to take care of charities better. They're going to donate more to Friends of or Voices of the Dog Pound, Animal Welfare League. Everything is going to benefit by jobs. It all starts, what's the president said? It's the economy, stupid. That's the truth. Good jobs, good communities. I work with White Tails Unlimited, and I do fundraising in my other career. I do fundraising in 9 states. If I go to Bucks County, Pennsylvania, or I go to Elmira, Finger Lakes, New York, it's ridiculous the amount of money those people are spending and making up there and the type of life that they live that's so different than what we have here. We're blessed to have low-cost housing. Our houses, you put in any of those in Newtown, Pennsylvania, you put them in Horseheads, New York, they're going to be worth 3, 4, 5 times the value of what they are worth here. So we got that part of it licked. We got good, affordable housing here, and we got jobs here. We just need to catch up on everything else. We need to catch up on the infrastructure, and we need more people working, more wealth in the county, and that's going to bring the bottom up. It's going to help do that. Instead of us always trying to, and Matthew, I don't disagree with everything you're saying, but I don't believe in bringing the ceiling down. I believe in bringing the floor up is the philosophy that I'm going to go by, and not crushing the middle class, lifting the middle class also. And like Trafficking said, his dad never worked for a poor man. If someone's wealthy and they're making money with a business, they're going to create another business. Maybe they're going to expand. Look at Mr. Cavelli. Mr. Cavelli just didn't take all of his money that he made from McDonald's and just put it in his pocket. He opened up O'Charlie's. He opened up Panera. Now he's opening up Caribou Coffee. He's reinvesting the wealth that he makes in other businesses that are providing jobs for other people. That's what rich people do. Ultimately, they don't hoard their money. Everyone just thinks these rich people are sitting there like Bart Simpson's boss, just counting their money with Smithers.
Scrooge McDuck jumping into the vault of gold coins.
Yeah, it's not that way. These people are reinvesting money. They're
but
not.
They've got to feel the community are not adversaries with the people who are spending the money. They're not your enemy, right? If you want them to invest, you can't always be in opposition to them and their moves.
That's right. And unfortunately, we have a mentality of boo birds out there that they don't like seeing anyone else successful. Anyone else that gets more respect, that gets more praise, that makes more money than them, they hate them. And that's got to stop. That's got to stop in government. That's got to stop in all facets of society. We need to be rooting for the next guy. I want to root for my neighbor as much as I want him to root for me. And I'm going to root for businesses in Mahoney County to be successful. I know my people in Trumbull County will benefit from that. And hopefully that mentality is shared the same way back and forth.
Matthew says, dude, your use of our taxes and are talking shit on the same people using it, aka you. Not exactly sure what that means, but Youngstown studio, go Trump. Vivek isn't even from here. Dudes bought by big tech. Where does that, like, I understand the guy is a business guy, venture capitalist. He's got a lot of strings connected to other communities in other states. Why the disconnect from certain people that says he's not going to represent our area? He doesn't care about Ohio. Where does that come from?
Well, there's a worry out there. I mean, just calling it out like it is. There's the rumor out there, that he's a Muslim or a Hindu. I'm sorry. There's a rumor out there he's not in touch with the people in Ohio. There's a rumor out there that his color skin, doesn't blend in well with the people in Eastern Ohio with traditional cultures. You got to throw that out the damn window. I mean, the guy's an Ohioan that wants to fight for Ohio citizens.
Is he from Ohio?
Economy. He's Cincinnati.
Okay.
He's a Cincinnati guy. Yeah. I mean, so he gets it. He educated himself, but there are some stereotypes and some people that there's still some racist mentality in the state. There's still some people out there. Hey, I'm a Catholic. Does it bother me or whatever? Does he fit my cup of tea in 100 ways of things? No, but I'm open. I'm open to seeing his way of things. He's probably not a guy that I would share a duck blind with. He's probably not a guy that I would be able to watch a NASCAR race and relate to, on a daily basis. But that's okay. Neither is my doctor. Neither is the mechanic that works on my car sometimes may not be the same type of guy. We could still work together and get things done. I believe he's smart. I believe that he's got the right connections throughout the country, and I believe he's got the right plan. And when you look at the alternatives, would I like Jim Tressel to be governor? Hell yeah. He's not running.
Right.
And so what we have is Vivek or we got Amy Acton. And Amy Acton,
no dice. No
in
no
my
deal
opinion,
there.
No deal there with what happened with COVID and the way she shut businesses down. And I just don't think she's got the skill set to be governor of the state of Ohio.
Now, I know Vivek was really positioned to play some kind of role in the Trump administration, and I don't know what happened. It was the weirdest thing to watch him go from playing a role to completely on the outside. Do you know any more to that story?
He was the Doge guy with Elon.
Yeah,
and they were together as a team, and I think he realized his aspirations that he had for Ohio when he saw the landscape change. And it's like, hey, I want to be governor of Ohio. Maybe I really don't want to go and cut so much and piss so many people off.
Become an enemy of everybody on the planet. Yeah.
Right. Which, hey, I give them credit for some of the things that went on with Doge. I mean, and we're seeing it now with the fraud, with the Somalian fraud type of stuff. And we're seeing in other areas. Is there fraud in government? Hell yeah, there is. Is there corruption and fraud in county government? Hell yeah, there is. I mean, my 3 years being there, we've uncovered lots of scars. We found a lot of skeletons in closets from the past. All we can do is stop it, make sure it doesn't happen again. We can't go back and just dwell in the past. But is there stuff that went on that shouldn't have gone on in county government? I'll be the first one to say absolutely there was. Absolutely. Is it happening now? Absolutely not. It's not happening now. We've got that in all facets of government. Whenever you got power and money at play, and we brought up water. The water wars that go on behind the scenes, people have no idea out there. People buy water from Mosquito. They buy it from Meander. They buy it from Aqua, Ohio. When you look at how people had the power, and there's books written on this water wars, that if you have the water, you've got the power and you've got the money. And when you look at corruption in the Mahoning Valley, a lot of that corruption came based around who was building the water lines, who was controlling the water, who was running Meander, who was running the power plants, who the people put in there. And there were a lot of shady characters in the last 100 years of our history with how our water got to be where it is. We're beyond that now, and we're stuck with what we had. We had 7 different water districts just in Trumbull County, and it was 7 different factions of corruption that ran the water. That's gone now. That's something that over the years has integrated in society and washed itself out. But we were based on a lot of stuff in the past that we inherited from our fathers.
So who was the Elliott Ness that shut that stuff down? Because that couldn't have been an easy thing. There was a lot of free-flowing money that happened in those industries. Who spearheaded that?
I think a lot of it as the mob went away, and as the mob mentality went away, and as corruption went away, and
easier to
people putting
that
people in there, and people bring people in to make the right decisions for the right reasons that have no idea what the history is. They're just trying to do the right thing. I think that kind of cleansed a lot of the stuff that's there. But when you look at how it happened, even some of our roads, how were they built? Who was the influence to get this road built here the way that it was? Who was the guy who made the money off that road being built back in the day? There was a lot of that stuff before the internet, and before you can fact check and Google things on there that we unfortunately inherited. And it's probably that way in every major city.
All right. So Matthew says Nashville is a blue city now, by the way.
Well, and most cities are blue. Most of your big cities are blue. But if you go to Nashville, count the skyscrapers, count the cranes that are there. Nashville is building. Nashville is becoming the new LA. And it isn't poor people building these skyscrapers. I can guarantee you that much. It's people with money that are building them. So there is success and there is wealth in Nashville, way beyond our means. And you can't say it's all blue that's making that happen. It's
now when something like Mondami happens in New York, and you know that business is going to get chased out, and to be a good relocation area, like Austin did it, Memphis did it, Nashville did it, when they saw that there was an exodus of business, to be an attractive state, to set tax rates, to do abatements, to really invite in enterprise to come to your city, knowing that it's absolutely going to happen. How do we position ourselves as Ohio looking forward to be a better host for that demand?
I think there's probably 8 people right now at the building right across the street working on that as we speak.
Nice. That makes me feel good.
When you put really Eastgate together with the chamber, with the port, I cannot stress enough to them how capable we are. We have Lake to River. We got Eastgate. We've got Port Authority. We got Chamber of Commerce. We got a program called Valley Vision 2050, where everybody works together for the common goal of what is this valley going to look like in 2050? What is this? Where are we headed? What is our future in the valley? Everybody working in the same direction. Right now, our top priority for that group is housing. We know the jobs are coming. We're doing our part to bring the jobs. We don't have places for these people to live. When these people relocate to here from outside the area, like you did, they don't want a $130,000 house, because where they came from, that's a ghetto. That's something they wouldn't even look at where they came from. If they lived on a suburbs of Atlanta, or they're coming from an area where they've got a good paying job, they want $300,000 to $400,000 houses. We don't have them. We got a shortage of those in the area. I mean, that's a lot of house for this area, but we need developments in Trumbull County. The last big neighborhood development where they really went in and built a neighborhood was Klein's Farm in Liberty. They started that 20 years ago and just finished it. 20 years since we had a real development project in the county to build housing. We need housing. Now, and I know $110,000 house in this area could be a hell of a deal. Drive up on the north side of Youngstown and look at the mansions that are there and what the prices they're selling for. People can revitalize that. People can renew that. We got to do it a neighborhood at a time for that to happen. So you got to have revitalization with new building and with progress to make this stuff happen. That's what people are demanding here. So all these economic teams are working on that right now, trying to navigate the system. How do we get the financing the right way? You got places like 717. They're working with us and saying, hey, we'll waive down payments, or we'll waive this here to try to get people to get loans to buy houses and build houses. Them working together with the other banking institutions, with the builders and developers, that's what's going to rebuild this and prepare people for these jobs. If not, we will have a problem. We will have a problem finding 1,200 workers at Foxconn and 600 workers
if there's no place to house
in Kimberly Clark, if there's no place for them to live when
they
come here.
The policy,
the executives right now, I'll tell you this much: Trumbull Energy, the people that built the Trumbull Energy plant out there, they live in Cranberry. The executive that is working at Kimberly Clark now, he lives in Hudson. The plant manager. These people are living in outside of our area. Mm-hmm. We need them living in Howland. We need them living in Vienna. I want them living in Johnston. I want them. If they're going to build a house, don't live in a $600,000 house in Hudson. Build one here. And
you had a mill down here,
take
and
a neighborhood
on Fifth Avenue.
Where we can revitalize and build a house there of that value, and look how much more you'll get for your dollar.
Now, the Trump policy, where institutional investors in housing, that you have a lot of real estate that's owned by big corporations, maybe countries out that own so much of our property. If we break that up and force sales, like how much of that is happening here in the Valley?
Well, we have this effect that happens here in the Valley. I remember when we were young, all the rich people lived in Poland and Canfield. Now, this is where they lived.
Right.
I remember when all the rich people lived in Liberty. Now what happens is they grow out from there. Those neighborhoods get old. The infrastructure gets old. Nobody wants a house built in 1975. They want to go build one in Springfield. They want to go get a chunk of property in Bristol with their 5 acres and build it there. And they grow out, and then eventually they saturate there, and they got the cornfield effect, they call it. And then eventually they say, well, guess what? Let's build a neighborhood in downtown Warren, a peninsula project, upscale urban living, and reinvest money there. And people come back to the cities. And it's like, we need to revitalize our neighborhoods now instead of going out and buying up all the land in the country. People, let's rebuild what we have now. Let's go a street at a time. Let's go a block at a time. In Barberton, Ohio, they went into neighborhoods near Akron Rubber Plant, and the community and their city council went in and made incentives. They took a street, 16th Street, I'll use for example, in Barberton, and they went to every homeowner there and said, if you rebuild your house and you remodel your house to these standards, kind of like an HOA type of thing, new siding, new roof, you do this and you invest it, and you live in that house for 3 years after you do it, we'll pay you back the money that you invested in your house. And then after 3 years, you can move out. I get a buddy that did. He bought a house for $22,000. He put about 60 into it, turned it into a beautiful house for $60,000 in a rundown neighborhood. He got reimbursed and he got tax credits from Barberton to do that. He lived in it for 3 years. In that $22,000 house that he put 60 into, he sold for $225 4 years later. And that whole street now is Yuppieville. It's like Tremont neighborhood in Cleveland, where people go and they rebuild neighborhood at a time. And that's the way people want to live. That's where they want to live. And we can do that here. We got neighborhoods in Warren. We got beautiful neighborhoods in Niles. They just need some love. These are houses that were the Mac Daddy of houses when our dads worked at GM and Packard. They're just old and they need refurbished. They need love and they need some incentive to make it good. You can't have a bunch of beautiful houses, then a crack house on the corner or a rundown house with a slum landlord that doesn't take care of it. It all goes hand in hand with
or a crime-ridden area.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam says Martin County is so scared about doing away with property taxes because they'll lose out on the money they can embezzle. And then Brian says removing property tax will force government to reevaluate how and what they spend money on.
100% right there. Make us figure a way. Make us not have money to waste. Make us be frugal with what
justify
we do.
It and communicate what you're spending money on.
We can't be tempted to go gamble it away and go lose it.
Yep. And
so take it from us. I'm a politician saying, take our money, cut our throats. Don't give us so much tax money. We'll figure a way to make things good for you. Sometimes you just got to make people do it. And that's not a philosophy a lot of people want to hear. And I'm sure I got some of my colleagues that are cringing right now in different facets of things saying, it's like, a crazy. What's he think he's going to operate on? How's he going to pay for this? How's he going to pay for that? We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out together.
Matthew says, oh, yes, you'd rather have private business spend it. They totally want you and I to have more money and more services. So we're really
on the same wavelength with Matthew on some of these things. I see I'm circling the wagons, but I haven't pinpointed in what he.
Yeah, and you know that's the fear when you put so much of the prosperity in the hands of capitalists, like trusting the fact that they're going to reinvest in your communities rather than just take it and move it out of your communities, spend it internationally, and then take what would be a tax thing and make it somebody else's windfall.
Let's attack this next one from Brian. Go ahead and read that.
Okay, why can't there be a centralized or regionalized emergency services instead of each small township having police and EMS, Mahoning County sheriffs instead of Poland, Boardman, Canfield, etc.?
Okay, a lot of talk on that. That's what the state wants you to do. The state wants you to regionalize, and the state said you'll get more money. We'll give you more money if you guys work together. Instead of us giving money to Johnson Fire Department and Cortland Fire Department and Mecca Township Fire Department, regionalize and let us give money to one. It's easier for them to do it, the state says. Here's the downfall of that. Yeah, it'll save money to do that, and some of that needs to be done. School system, the same way. So people say the same thing. Let's merge these two schools together. Let's put this school system with this one. When you do that, you lose your local flair. What makes the Mahoning Valley beautiful is you have communities. It's nice when you have a police officer that you went to school with that stayed there in the community, and he knows every neighbor. He knows every resident. It's nice when you have a police chief that's from there that cares about your needs, and he pays taxes in that community just like you do. When you regionalize, you're getting regional service. You're losing that touch of taking care of your neighbor, and you're becoming like Columbus. Columbus is a big melting pot of people from all over the place, but there is no history there. You go to Arlington and Westerville and places like that, it's a whole bunch of transfers from other places, and they just don't have that local flair. They didn't grow up with this person. They didn't go to school with their neighbor. You lose that, flair, and you see it at the festivals. You see it at the churches. It's nice when you got a community like, I'll use Girard, for example. I mean, Girard takes care of Girard. Girard gets a police chief. Girard gets a mayor.
They're from there.
They get homegrown people.
Absolutely.
That know everybody. They know the history of it. They know the history of their neighbors. They know the struggles their parents went through. Their parents worked together back at the mill. They do it together. And I got a lot of respect for that. And Trumbull County and Mahoney County are made up of a whole bunch of communities like that. And we can integrate and bring people into our circle, but we don't want to blow our circles up. So the downfall with regionalization is that, in my opinion.
Youngstown Studio, yes, tourism and entertainment are the best way to have the Mahoning Valley to come back. Keep the money made by workers locally, not spent in Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or West Virginia. We have to incentivize not only the businesses, but consumers to be loyal to their communities and spend their money locally rather than outside.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. In a day and age that everything is bought online, Amazon is the go-to for absolutely everything. How do you still support local and still support local economies, but also stay with the times and innovation and technology that's always changing, and things want people faster, sooner, more easily? Like we said, they don't like to talk to people. Yeah.
Wow.
Like, the Holy Grail.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty as charged. I can get up and go drive to Target and buy something that I need, or I go to Amazon, have it on my doorstep tomorrow.
Like
so
you said,
am I contributing to the downfall of society?
You absolutely are. You're ruining things.
I am. Am I Googling stuff?
Yeah. I mean, Amazon's not going to donate to your kids' baseball team when they need uniforms. Right. So I don't know. That to me is my biggest...
that sort of is incumbent on businesses to be able to fill voids, like he said, where you're in Columbus and your police officer isn't even from your town, where when you have somebody who represents you and you could be loyal to and they can be loyal, that makes it a tighter community. Right? Because when you buy from Amazon, your standards are way lower, right? You're doing it for convenience. You don't care who delivers it. You don't care where the money goes. But when you go to a coffee shop where you know the owner and they serve you and know your name, that's a completely different rubric.
Customer service is different. Businesses run differently. You have that person that will help you when there's an issue, not a machine on the other end that you can't understand. I think it's super important to have local. But how do you do that in a culture that wants the convenient and the fast and the remote?
Well, I think it all starts by working together, and we need to work together to support our businesses, support our homegrown ones. When I have a rule,
we have 2 minutes, by the way.
I have a rule with Whitetails Unlimited, my other business. If I'm on the road somewhere, we don't eat at a franchise pizza place. Where we find something local. When we're eating lunch around there, we local in that community. And I think people need to do a little bit more of that in this area too. Maybe we can avoid the Amazon if we can, and shop a little more local. It may be a pipe dream in today's day and age. We might be getting outpaced with technology because of that. We got to strive for that. And I don't know which MLO brother is posting that, but I'm going to wash your mouth out with soap.
We don't name that name here on this show.
We do not say that name, but I don't know which one it is. If it's the big ugly one or the skinny one with the big ears. I'm washing your mouth out with soap when I see you for even bringing that up on the screen.
All right, listen, we could have talked all day. Denny, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Denny will be back next Friday to talk with those guys that we don't speak of.
And that'll be a little more colorful,
it will.
I'm sure.
I am certain of it. That name will be launched a couple times.
We did in their basement once at the shop, and it was probably one of their highest ranked shows still to this day, and we touched on so much stuff. I'm excited to get back with those guys again, and let's mix it up a little bit.
All right, cool. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us and listening. Thank you Denny for being here. We'll catch you next time.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.